considered a carer? Carers Trust defines that as anyone who cares, unpaid, for a friend or family member who, due to illness, disability, a mental health problem, or an addiction, cannot cope without their support. It should be emphasised that we are unpaid. Paid carers are those who are in formal employment, often from a professional background. We don't get holiday or sick pay. We do it out of love. I would say that a carer is someone who routinely takes on tasks of daily living because the cared for person cannot complete these tasks. Tasks that others in the same situation would be able to manage themselves. It's not just the physical daily living things that we do, we also organise, plan, initiate and think on their behalf. It's rather like being their PA, and it's exhausting. This is the challenge when you care for someone with a mental health condition or learning disability. But what if you're a parent looking after a child? Can you be a carer or are you just mum or dad? I think that the definition of a parent carer should be when your child can't do things that are age appropriate and you have to support them in doing things that another child of the same age would know how to do without prompting. So, why don't people recognise themselves as carers? I don't live with my mum, so I'm not there every day, but I do call regularly and visit once a month. I have to troubleshoot all the things that need doing, like the mice she's just had, the drains being blocked and the fence blowing down. I organise all these people to sort them out, plus the online shopping, cleaner, gardener, all her appointments and repeat prescriptions. I didn't think of myself as a carer as mum and dad live together and dad does most of the day-to-day caring for mum. It was only when he went into hospital to have an operation and I had to look after mum and then him when he was discharged that I recognised that I was a carer. But it took a colleague pointing out that neither could manage without me that I did accept that I was. I realised I was a full-time carer as I became aware that I was just doing more and more caring and less being a husband. The caring role just became bigger and bigger. I don't think of myself as a carer, I'm just a mum doing what a mum does. We were frightened that the dynamic of our relationship would change if I said that I was his carer. He still wants to take care of me. He's a proud man and has always taken care of me. I look after my daughter who has mental health problems. I know I am her carer, but would I call myself that officially? No, as it wouldn't be beneficial to her. She would be humiliated and ashamed if she heard me refer to myself as that, even though it's true. Mental health is hard enough without feeling you need a carer. There's also the cultural aspect of caring. In some cultures, the responsibilities is an expectation and there is no sense that the role deserves recognition or support. I'm the eldest, and as I'm not married and have no family, this falls to me. My family would say that I'm not a carer. When I said this to my sister, she laughed. I'm not seen as a carer, I'm her daughter. Caring for family is not seen as a caring role. It's a big stigma within our culture. There's no word for carer at all. There's an Urdu word for carer and means taking care of a sick person. We don't like to say that we are taking care of someone in the family. Disability is not a good word. When asking someone from my culture if they might be a carer, you need to be sensitive and ask, what support do you need? Ask what the person does to support the person you think they're caring for. What do you do? How can I help you? Never use the word carer. What triggers the recognition you are a carer? I didn't recognise myself as a parent carer until it was pointed out to me. I knew that I was going over and above the role of mum and my role was changing, but I hadn't identified with the word carer. I genuinely wouldn't have recognised that I'm a carer. It was when I filled out a survey from my GP that the penny dropped. Mum never recognised it either. It wasn't until my line manager at work told me that I was. The irony is I was training people to identify as carers and referring to Action for Carers, but I didn't recognise myself as a carer. When I was driving 2 hours a day, twice a day, I realised I was a carer. I think I realised when I no longer had choices in my own life. I was unable to take paid work or plan activities. My first thought was always, will that fit in around everything I need to do for my son? Registering as a carer with your GP. I sat in the doctor's surgery and read the poster on the wall describing a carer. It had 6 questions on it, and if you answered yes to them, it said then you are a carer, so register with us. I spoke to reception and I registered. But unfortunately, registering with your GP might not always lead to additional help. When I went to the GP to register as a carer, the receptionist said, "How can you possibly be a carer? You're his mum." I am registered with my GP as a carer, but you don't get anything from it. I would like more privileges. Prioritise me as a carer. Call me back immediately, not 2 weeks later. There are challenges associated with accessing benefits or support. For many carers, the gain of the benefit was low compared to the effort and added mental load required to find or apply for it. Parents of children with additional needs don't have the time to do extra forms. We have so many to do already. None of these benefits are useful to me. I'd love to have some respite, but how can I? My son will only speak to me. He's highly anxious, so it just wouldn't work. My husband won't have a stranger in the house, and so I can't have anyone in to look after him if I want to go out. He has to come with me, so I never get a break. It's all a bit new and overwhelming at the moment. I have heard people talk about carers allowance, but I wasn't sure what it was or if it applied to me as I'm his mum. Seems a bit odd to have money for looking after your child, which is something I have to do as I'm his mum. As carers, we would like to say to anyone who has watched this video, the reality is that not everyone gets what it's like to be a carer. The support some of us receive through groups is invaluable. Carers need to be everyone's business. Just asking us, how are you, can make all the difference. Talk to us. Have an open conversation about why they are where they are today and show an interest. This might lead to them telling the person that they are a carer or realising that they're a carer and signposting to relevant support organisations. Ask us. How are they? Are they managing? What support do they need? Listen to us. Carers know their loved ones best as they are looking after them 24/7 in most cases. We're able to give a really good insight into what support would be most appropriate for them and the person being cared for. Most carers say that if their loved ones are okay, then they are too.